Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. Welcome to another Dawson's ranking video. Haven't done one of these like this in a while. I've been trying to sort of do themed ranking videos around Ryder and Sentai debuts, but things get busy with the video schedule in real life, so I kind of only do them when I can. But we just got our new 6th Ranger, or we got to look at him. He hasn't debuted in the show yet. As of this recording, you could be from the future and have already seen him and you're in the next series or whatever. Weebly wobbly, timey-wimey. But in honor of that, I wanted to rank all of the White Ranger Sentai and PR suits. I don't think I forgot anything. I went through all the Sentai suits, and then I also included some Power Rangers exclusive ones, as well as a couple that are like on the wiki but don't count because of fandom categorization BS. I'm sure I'll get arguments about that stuff, about like what categorizes and all that. So just know with categorization, it does not matter in life, and it's kind of pathetic to care about it. The White Ranger suits are usually my favorite. I think it comes from my love of the original White Ranger suit, as well as the White Blaster Beetleborg, back in Beetleborgs. I think I've always just liked them because they're often very slick suits, and white and black in particular always present a really great contrast where you can contrast like gold and black and all, well, for white, you know, you can't do black on black. I mean, you can, but you won't be able to tell the difference. Are you kidding me? Obsidian, onyx, midnight. You know what I mean? I think that in particular white and black always present something that can create a cool contrast or blend of color, so it's like my favorite Ranger and Rider type of template. So let's go ahead and get started with the ranking. At the bottom, I don't necessarily hate this one, but is Change Mermaid. I don't have as much experience with the pre-G-Ranger Sentai in terms of watching them or like kind of spending time with the suits, if that makes any sense. You know, as you watch and rewatch series, you get to see them more and form stronger opinions. But this one I just like okay for what it is. It feels a little bit incomplete. I do really like the white and pink contrast though. That comes up a couple times on this list. After that is Duo White. This is a weird one because it's second to the bottom, but I don't hate it at all. In fact, I actually really like the Gozyuger suits. I think they're really well done. They maybe feel a little bit incomplete, but I've always liked the sort of tech feeling helmets. I like that this one feels familiar to Galway and yet somehow different. Like, I can't think of any like real reasons to state why it's so low other than I just like other suits more and it's just a little bit more bland. Following that up with one that might be controversial to put on this list because of the Sentai purists especially, but if that's going to make them mad, that'll just make my day, which is the Ghost Ranger Zato thing from the end of Dino Charge, beginning of Cosmic Fury. I don't know if it counts as a White Ranger. I don't care. I have a permit. I can do what I like. So I think this was cool to get a peek into what a Ryusoul White would look like. I wish they had just made the helmet white. I think it would have looked really cool. I think that the suit, like from the neck down, looks a little bit cheaper, but I like the general design principle of it. I like the contrasting red here and the cape. Like, again, I wish it had the white helmet. It is kind of interesting seeing the contrast of the red helmet, but I always kind of dug this for kind of like a almost prototype concept idea. Then you have White Swan, aka Cat Ranger. This was one people were counting as an orange ranger because it has a secondary color. If you want to do that, live your life. It really doesn't matter. I've always thought of it as more of a White Ranger because it feels like the primary color. This is a suit I really like and almost wish I could put it higher. Just, again, the only reason is because I simply like other suits more. But I think it's well designed. I think all the Deck Ranger suits are well designed. It's got a really unique look to it. I like that they represent the number 8 via the hexagonal pattern or whatever it is. And then also I like that it works really well as both a cat and a Swan Ranger. Like, obviously you do have the feathers here, but in general it kind of worked that we changed it to a cat. I'm kind of curious the decision why we did that. Maybe it's because cats are more popular. I don't know. Next up is Gal White. I think Gal White's just an overall really solid suit. It sells the white tiger theme really well. I love the slight contrast of the pink. Like, the pink and white contrast is something that really works for me, especially for like the girl suits. I think it just really is well done. And also at the time, this was before I knew about Sentai, and I always felt like the pink was a nod to the fact that she was taking the Pink Ranger's usual place. But yeah, don't have a lot to say. I just think it's a solid suit. Next up is Ninja White. It was really funny because I almost wanted to rank like Gao and Deca Swan above these because it's a little bit more interesting. But I'm just looking at this suit. I love how sleek and simple the Cocker Ranger suits are. Like, they're not the most like in-your-face thing ever. They're not boring. They're kind of right in the middle plus in terms of like they're just a very well-designed, slick suit that aren't forgettable at all. They just look really good, and I've always really liked them. After that is Big One, which I was kind of surprised ranked so high because it is a very goofy, over-the-top, almost flamboyant suit, but I kind of love it for that. He just really sticks out, and it simultaneously conveys kind of the goofiness of Sentai while also kind of looking pretty cool. And over the years, I've developed a pretty big soft spot for it. I would love to get a figure art of it, honestly.
Future contemplative picture Dawson here, realizing that my eyes skimmed over 2 on my list when I was looking on my phone, which is, first of all, I believe is actually White Swan, because I accidentally called Deca Swan White Swan. But if it's not White Swan, the caption will be right. But anyway, White Swan, at least for the context of this video. Really great suit. I've said a couple times in this video, I really like the white and pink contrast. I think that's a really cool contrast that just really works. And this is probably one of my favorite Jetman suits because of that. The Jetman suits tend to jumble together for me a little bit, but this has a really good classic retro look, and yet it doesn't look dated. And like I said, the white-pink contrast just works. And then following that right up with Ninja White, I think, is it Nin White? No, it's not Nin White. whatever White Ranger title this has, it's the Ninja's White Ranger, and this is probably my favorite of the Ninja suits. Like, I have a hard time deciding which one's my favorite often because despite not caring so much for Ninja or Ninja Steel, I think they're really awesome suits. But this one is just really cool. Like I said, you have the contrast of the pink, which is really neat, but also the black mixed in there, and then having like the pink outline on the helmet, and then kind of the thigh-high boots just makes it look like really stand out. It's just a really well-designed suit that I like a lot.
After that is Shishi Red Orion, which is a power-up White Ranger, but I think it's really well designed. I love the Q Ranger suits. I like that this suit, even though it's very obviously a Red Ranger power-up with the helmet design clearly evoking regular Shishi Reds, but I like that even though you can tell that, they could very much sell it as another Ranger if you wanted. Like if we were to have done a Q Ranger adaptation and wanted to make this the 13th Q Ranger, we very easily could have. Following that up with White Mystic Ranger, aka the female White Blaster Beetleborg. Honestly, this really does, even though it's very different in a lot of ways, look kind of like the White Blaster Beetleborg. But I thought this was just such a cool suit, kind of cool to see a female 6th Mentor Extra type Ranger. The fact that she debuted before the other Rangers, I don't remember the order in which it went down in Magi Ranger, but for us in Mystic Force, she did debut first. And it was just always such a really cool suit that conveyed that sort of Mentor 6 Ranger vibe to it very well. Following that up with Classic Zenkaiser, a suit that's grown on me over time. I really do appreciate the homage to the original Go Ranger, the sort of extra colors running down him. He has this sort of modern retro but leaning more towards retro look that I liked fine from the start, but just over time I really have grown more fond of it. Speaking of, this wasn't on the official list on the wiki because he is called Zenkaiser Black, but his primary color is white, and this is my list. I like Zenkaiser Black just a little bit more. In fact, I like it quite a lot. When we first saw it, I was a little disappointed because when we got the leaks and it said Zenkaiser Black, I thought we were going to get maybe like a black gold, and I was disappointed. It kind of looked like a Xerox copy, like you got the energy sucked out of him. But then over time, I just really grew to appreciate it. It kind of had the core tenets of the classic design of Zenkaiser that I liked, but just looked a little more modern. Not to mention I like the character, so it's one that's become a fond favorite of mine. Following that up with one that's PR exclusive, which is the Morphonaut, which is a white gold repaint of the Phantom Ranger from his early days, from his origin story. I've always liked the Phantom Ranger suit fine. I know it's been a fan favorite for a lot. It's been one I've always appreciated but never liked as much as others, but the Morphonaut one just really sold it for me. The white gold suit just looks really great. White gold and black gold are two of my favorite color schemes, and this just makes it look all the cooler. Next up is Draken. I didn't bother ranking all the individual Evolution ones. Obviously, I couldn't rank Evolution 3 because it's black gold. I will say I think my favorite is Evolution 1. Just there's something about the slickness that's added by adding the Shinkenger elements to the suit. But overall, Draken's a really cool concept. I think it's really well designed. I think it definitely is more heavily Kiba Ranger than Green Ranger stuff, but I still really think it's a cool suit. I love that it evokes Abre Killer a bit with the red visor. I also really like the contrast of the green because it's not a color that contrasts really organically with white, but when you add in the gold, it creates this kind of thing where it kind of blends and it also doesn't, but it just works. Following that up with Classic Kiba Ranger, aka MMPR White, again, one of the suits that's the origin of my love of White Ranger suit. It just looks really, really awesome. Again, you got the white, you got the black, you got the gold. I think black and white, or black and white, black and gold being two colors that contrast really strongly off white, and it all blends together really well. Not to mention in the context of the show, I've brought this up multiple times, but I always love that this suit very much physically represented Tommy being redeemed, doing all he could to make up for what he did as Green Ranger, and then finally being chosen, and that added kind of this extra story context to why I liked the suit. Then you have Deca Break, always been one of my favorite suits. Again, I like the blue contrast here. You got blue, a bit of the gold. Not quite as much as green, but the blue and white don't fully gel well together, but then they do. It just kind of works. I've just always really liked this slick version of the suit. Next up is Geki Chopper. When I'm thinking about my favorite Geki Ranger suits, I always have a hard time, Geki Ranger / Jungle Fury, because if I'm just talking about Geki Ranger, I have a hard time going back and forth between this and Violet, because Violet was so cool, and you're turning Violet, Violet! But having a purple wolf and the first Purple Ranger was just so neat. But I always come back to this one just because I like the bottom suit a little bit more. Like, I don't hate Geki Wolves, but there's something about how well designed this is. You got like the karate gi elements. It very much has these different ways of designing itself with the karate gi, his own unique symbol, even the helmet, because like the dog and feline designs work so well for Geki Ranger style, but a rhino is so different. But to see it in that slick sort of tech feeling design just works really well. And I like that he stands out and fits in almost equally in a lot of ways. And again, orange is one of those like interesting extra contrast colors that adds a little bit of unique personality to it. Now we're entering the top 3 with our most recent entry, Gozyu Polar. Much like Spider Kimonos and others, this was one that instantly shot up to my favorites. It just works so well. White for sort of the, Arctic theme just works really nicely, and then you have the kind of more polar blue colors in there, the black contrast. In general, I just like the way the Gozyuger suits work, and this was one that just instantly became a favorite. It could go up or down over the years, but right now this just felt right. Coming in for the runner-up is Spider Kimonos. This suit just hit all the right buttons. Like, it was great in general to finally get a break from gold and silver suits. If you followed my channel, I was tired at the nauseum of constant gold and silver suits. So to finally take a break from that would have been exciting. We could have got a brown ranger that had the design of a smiley face and I would have been happy. But the fact that it was this well-designed white ranger suit based on a spider, which also hit the buttons of me liking Spider-Man designs, and you have like extra gold contrast in some of the bits, it's just so well done. The character was fantastic too. And then for me though, number 1, and probably still my favorite Ranger suit of all time, spoiler alert if I ever do like a full Ranger suit list or whatever, but is Abre Killer. Just such a well-designed suit. I mean, just look at it, it's perfect. It's slick, it's badass, but it's simple too. It's not over-designed, like it's really just kind of a bunch of white and black stripes and then a badass helmet, but it just works. It doesn't feel under-designed, it doesn't feel over-designed. The contrast of the red visor is really cool. What I like most about it though, well not most, I think just generally what I like most about it is the way it looks. But I think one of the things I like most about it that I find fascinating, while yes, it overall fits with the theme of the series because it's dino-based and stuff like that, it's crazy how different it is. Like, you have sliding scales of 6 Rangers, some that stand out more, some that fit in more. You have ones like Mega Silver's one that fits in like the most, or Gao Silver, stuff like that. Obviously it's a unique color, but those could almost be part of the regular team. And then you have ones like Kimonos, which very much fits in but stands out. And you have a sliding scale of that, but he has so many things about him that make him feel different, where you could almost see him being designed in a different Dino series, and yet when he's standing with the team, it just fits in so well. I think a lot of it has to do with the helmet having sort of a similar slick oval design like Kira's helmet, but still, that just always really impresses me. I think it's a feat of Sentai suit design. But that is just my list. Let me know what some of your favorite White Ranger suits are from PR and Sentai. Until next time, Dawson Ryder signing out.